And we are officially live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome to another rendition of NXTilosos, your weekly NXT Post-Show Breakdown here at BC WrestlePod. Of course, my name is Mikey, also known as El Jefe, and I'm super excited to be here this evening. My other co-host, Papa Oso, will be here very shortly. And unfortunately, we are down a kilt man tonight, but was giving him the love and everything because we love him and he is amazing. And hopefully, he has a better day tomorrow and the rest of a good night. But we are here to break down everything that went down at New Year's Evil for NXT. Before we get into all of that, though, whether you are brand new to BC WrestlePod or you've been rocking with us for a while, we like to thank everyone and welcome everyone. And just to give some quick announcements really quickly about that, if you feel inclined to check out all of our content, whether it is the live streams or the edited reviews that go up the following day, you can subscribe to the YouTube on the Twitch and Kick and explore those sites to see all our full length shenanigans because they are really fun. If you're looking for something a little bit more manageable, then you can pick your favorite social media site and follow us at BC WrestlePod. On those social media sites, you can find our report cards of the weekly shows as well as the pay per views as well as some other fun stuff like previews of what's going down on the television programming and pay per views, prediction leagues. It is a whole bunch of fun stuff. And, now coming back for 2026, we also have our short reels that give you a cap of just the shenanigans that go on in these full things. Of course, we also have some merchandise for you with new designs coming this weekend at bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com. Link in the description of this video below. And as well, if you feel inclined to help us pay for some of these pay-per-views, the little coffee bot will be popping up in ever so shortly. And if you feel inclined to help donate to the cause, then you are more than welcome to, but no pressure because we love you. Alrighty. So we are going to get into, or I'm going to get into New Year's Evil for NXT as much as I can. So let's see how far we get. So I have a whole soapbox moment that I'm going to get on at the very end of this. Not that NXT New Year's Evil was bad, but we find ourselves in this position every single year. And for some reason, I love you, Shawn Michaels, but we never learn about setting people up and having, people underneath the one or two big acts in the division in order to carry through when NXT call-ups happen to the main roster. But I'm going to save that till we get to the very end. And so let's just jump into it because New Year's Evil was a show that definitely had some highs, but also had some lows. So we were going to kick off the show with our NXT Women's North American Championship match. This is a rematch that was happening from 2 weeks ago. It's already out there on the internet. Everyone has picked it up. But Thea Hale became our new NXT Women's Champion. She wasn't supposed to, but we got this rematch that was going to happen at New Year's Evil. Or at least we were supposed to. We didn't get too far into the episode, and I'm just going to let this picture speak for itself. Oh my goodness, I can't. NXT was crazy. Um, yeah, this is it's a thing that has happened, so that's very always going to be an interesting. Well, hello there, new friend. Thank you for being here and checking out our review. So this should be fun. Yeah, we didn't get too far into the show. Blake Monroe comes out and attacks Thea Hale, and there's a whole brawl that happens. We had to have security and referees come out to separate the two. Thea goes through the barricade. Blake Monroe wants to get after her, and we never get this match happening. And so this was my first sign that this show is definitely going to be very interesting, to say the least. So we shall see what happens. Yeah, so at this point in the show, I'm like, oh, so we're not going to get this match? Then this is crazy. This is wild. How do I know this friend? Well, I mean, I'm recapping an episode that aired last night for NXT, so this is how I know. Uh, so, anywho, but we never got this match to happen. We're going to talk about Blake and Thea a little bit later as we continue to go on with this. But while this whole brawl is happening, right, Ricky States comes out and he cuts a promo. Now, there has been some discourse online from, the internet wrestling community in general that, Ricky's stock in NXT is no longer there and people don't care about him. I still care about Ricky. My issue is that we have kind of been all over the place with him. He was NXT North American champion. He was NXT champion for like a good 45 days before throwing it, losing it to Obafemi at Deadline back in December. And he just had his match against Javon Evans last week, in which that was Javon's final match, which we're going to talk about at the very end because we got some NXT kids heading on up to the main roster. But Ricky cuts this promo and he basically talks about whether it is TNA's X Division champion Leon Slater or Obafemi. He wants a rematch for the NXT championship, and now it is going to be all Ricky Saints. And I'm just like, okay. I still like Ricky, but I do need a general direction of where we're going with him because he's been all over the place. There were talks about him going up to main roster already, but I didn't think that was going to happen. I know Ricky is now going to well, at this point, spoiler alert, Ricky is going to have to help carry this NXT division for a little bit because of what happens at the very end, which we're going to get to when we get there. But again, this is a Ricky promo talking about he beat Javon Evans. He wants another shot at the NXT championship. And I'm like, okay, Vengeance Day is coming up in February. At least I'm assuming, unless we're not going to have Vengeance Day PLE. But we got Vengeance Day, and then all roads lead to Stand and Deliver in April during WrestleMania weekend. So we have a couple of months to see how plans and stories pan out, and we're going to see where Ricky ends up with that when we get there. But after this promo, we get into Ava, our general manager of NXT, running backstage with everything that transpired between Thea Hale and Blake Monroe. She sends people to find Blake, and then she borrows a P. Hayes headset to tell them that we're switching the order of things, that Izzy Dane versus Tatum Paxley is up next. They'll have them roll the video package for it while she deals with all of it. This was a really nice, manufactured stuff for this one. I actually really like it because, it's showing, Ava is a general manager. And this was a nice touch. I mean, again, it was all manufactured, but still, it was a really fun stuff. And well, Ava got her answer because before the match itself, Ava has a little bit of a confrontation with Blake Monroe. Ava is a little upset with Blake Monroe and how she handled everything. Blake counteracts that point, telling Ava that, she wanted to she said for Blake to bring the glamour, and the glamour was brought. And so Blake tells Ava that she did, and she wants to get her title back, and Ava should give it back to her. Ava was having none of it this evening, and she told Blake Monroe that not only is she not getting another shot at the Women's North American Championship tonight, but she is being banned from the building, so she needs to go home and leave. So Blake Monroe gets kicked out of the NXT building, and we're going to have to follow up on that because Blake is also another case. She was NXT Women's Champion. Then, she lost the title in a, match where Thea wasn't supposed to win that title. And we didn't even get a rematch between these two. So I hope there's a plan for Blake because I do like her. I really, really do. But I don't know, man. It's kind of getting weird all over the place. And again, I'm going to wait until we get to the end of the show to get on my soapbox for this one. But after this confrontation between Blake and Ava, we do finally get into our second match of the evening, which was Tatum Paxley versus Izzy Dane. To kind of set up the story going into this match for New Year's Evil, back at Gold Rush Week 2, Tatum Paxley put her minted NXT Women's Championship again on the line against JC Jane in a title rematch after Tatum beat JC for the title at New Year's Evil. Oh, not New Year's Evil, sorry, Deadline. And that was a lot of fun. And then, Tatum lost to JC at Gold Rush Week 2. Izzy and the Colleen betrayed her. And over the last couple of weeks, Tatum was taking out the Colleen one by one. She incapacitated Nico Vance, and she incapacitated Sean Spears. And yeah, well, it made me sad that Tatum lost the title. I'm not gonna lie. And so Tatum is coming back for revenge on Izzy in a grudge match, so to speak. The match itself, it was pretty okay. It was decent. I didn't think it was anything like over the top like barn burner, but it was a really solid match between these two. I really do like the fact that they were brutalizing each other, and I do appreciate that this did feel like a grudge match where they were trying to incapacitate the other to try to win. And so I really give kudos to Tatum and Izzy. Izzy having to deal with that nuclear heat because the NXT crowd really loves Tatum and they will really, really love her, especially after winning that NXT Women's Championship. And Tatum is so over as a babyface right now in NXT. Ultimately, Tatum Paxley does get her just desserts. She gets justice. She gets her karma. She gets her revenge against Izzy as she is able to beat Izzy and pick up the victory here. At this point in the show, I thought to myself that things were going to be a lot of fun. And you know what? After this, I was like, oh, we got 2 more matches. We're going to see how the rest of this show shapes up. Little did I know that things were about to go off the rail more than they did. But moving on from Tatum and Izzy, we get a pre-taped promo where we get a package of one of the newest signees from overseas, coming all the way from Europe, Mr. Elio Lafleur, formerly known as Ahia Blanc from France. We get a little pre-tape of him. Listen, as somebody who watches and covers the independents, Elio Lafleur, Ahia Blanc, again, formerly known as, I'm really excited to see him in NXT. He is part of the class of other European wrestlers that include the Spanish sensation himself, Zozaya, and the brute from Germany, Mr. Mike DeVecchio, Mike D. I'm so excited that they're here. And so I'm very interested to see when we get to see, Elio Lafleur debut. And I'm excited. And yes, before anyone asks, no, he's not a white guy who they're putting a mask on him. He does wrestle as a luchador in the European scene, in the French wrestling scene. So I am pretty sure they're going to have him keep his mask on here. But again, NXT likes to try to turn what worked for these wrestlers overseas into something more marketable here in the States. I really hope they let Elio keep his mask because I think it is fun and we need more luchadors. And I'm ready to see this Frenchman fly. But I'm really excited to see Elio Lafleur. And hopefully we don't have to wait too long to see him in action here at the Performance Center. After this promo, or this pre-tape, I should say, we are backstage with Ava, Thea Hale, and Jordan Grace in the medical office. Ava, tries to console Thea and tell her that when she is 100%, she could definitely get this challenge for the NXT Women's North American Championship. She is still very upset with what Blake Monroe did, and she promises Thea that when she is cleared and when she's 100%, that Thea can continue to defend the title. Thea, wanting to prove herself, continues to not listen to the doctor's advice and Ava's advice. Jordan Grace says, look, the girl is determined. She wants to do this, so let her do it. And Ava says, all right, I'm going to let you do this open challenge. And it was at this moment I knew that shenanigans were going to go down. I don't know, man. I knew I knew that some shenanigans were going to go down. And I, looking back at it, I was right. And I'm going to wait until we get there because I'm like, this is a whole mess. This is wild. And it is where everything in this night was starting to go topsy turvy for me. Oh, Miss Thea, we're going to talk about you in a little bit, girl. It makes me very, very upset with what happened with her. But let's get into this match, though, because I'm not even going to lie, you guys. I think as a whole, from beginning to end, after I sat with the episode and I've had at least 24 hours to think about it, I think this is probably my favorite match from New Year's Evil. Here we have the NXT Women's Championship. This is Jacy Jayne defending her title against WWE Evolve Champion Kendall Gray. So to set up the story for this one, Kendall earned the right to face Jacy here at New Year's Evil, as Kendall was the winner of the Women's Iron Survivor match at Deadline this past December. And so over the last couple of weeks, Kendall and Ren Sinclair have been kind of feuding with the Fatal Influence girls. You know, that includes Jacy and Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed. And we've been getting a good back and forth between, you know, all groups involved. And I have to say, okay, I'm going to put it this way. The match itself was fantastic. I really loved it. You know, Ren is running interference so the outside so it doesn't get too crazy out here. And I have to say, I think this is probably Jacy's best match as a champion in her 2 title runs as NXT Women's Championship. And I truly believe that she's fantastic. And it's really, really solid to see how good and how fast Kendall Gray is. And just her repertoire is so diverse. It's crazy how young in her WWE wrestling career of how good Kendall is, right? Now, with all that being said, I did not have a doubt that Jacy would retain her title here. But what bothers me about this whole match is just the fact that a couple of weeks ago, people were clowning on Kendall. And again, a lot of people are her fans, which I love. And you know what? I love when wrestlers prove haters wrong. My issue with this, though, comes from people who are very upset and are talking negatively about Jacy and saying that, you know, Kendall was robbed. She could became the title. And I'm just sitting here. I don't know, man. It frustrates me because Kendall, I think, will become an NXT Women's Champion. And she definitely will hold this championship at some point. But she's currently the Women's Evolve Champion. So they're not going to give her double championships just for the heck of it. And number 2, WWE in general, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, because I know this as somebody who's a part of this fandom, I already know that if Kendall, by some way of miracle, ended up walking away as NXT Women's Champion last night, I gave it 2 weeks before everyone would start turning on her and calling her overrated and calling her, you know, garbage, and that, oh, you know, somebody needs to get the title off of her, because this always happens. As soon as somebody you want becomes a champion, then everyone does an about face for some fucking reason. Yes, I can curse because I'm far enough in. I just don't get it. But with all that being said, this is probably my favorite match by the end of it from start to finish. I would have said the main event was my favorite match, and then I had questions at the final shot of this. So, all right, we're going to move on. But before I move on to the next segment, I need to bring somebody in for this one. So I'm about to bring my co-host for the evening, Papa Oso. So let me just bring him in real quick. Hello, and welcome to the madness.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. I was having issues with my audio.
Honestly, it's not a BC WrestlePod post-show breakdown unless someone has tech issues, usually me being me.
It was me this time.
Yes. Alrighty. So we're going to keep moving on, though, because it was at this point for the rest of the show that I had a lot of questions and concerns going into things. I'm just let this picture. I'm just gonna let this picture be here for a hot second, because I was just like, this was red flag number 2. I was like, this was red flag number 2. Red flag number 1 was the segment we got backstage with Thea, Ava, and Jordan. I was like, oh, okay, maybe Jordan's gonna answer this. No. Izzy answers this. She and Thea have a match. Izzy Dame is your new NXT Women's North American Champion. And I'm like, I understand that Thea was never supposed to win this title, right? 2 weeks ago, because it was an accident that she won it. I have so many questions as to why we just let Izzy be the one to get this championship after she lost a match against Tatum. That's my big issue. I don't have an issue with Izzy being at Women's North American Champion, but the problem I have is she just lost the match. So even though there was no title on the line between her and Tatum, she lost the match like not even 15 minutes ago in the like 20 minutes ago in the show, and now she is the champion. I'm like, huh?
It was bad. I think it was bad programming.
Oh, I was so hot at creative, not Izzy herself, because she's just doing what the girls are doing, what they're being told. But I'm like, creative team and Shawn Michaels, what was this? And also, what made no sense is that you had Tatum in storyline take out the other 2 boys of the Colleen in order to get Izzy to be one-on-one, and magically they reappeared. What?
Yeah. What? I know, as if nothing happened.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, I didn't get it at all.
I was just like, whatever, man. And this coincides. I was like, I don't know what we're doing with this NXT Women's North American Championship. You know, since Thea got it by accident 2 weeks ago, it's done nothing for her. It's done nothing for Blake. And I'm very afraid for Izzy and how the audience is going to react to her. But yeah, this was bad programming. The match itself was pretty solid. I love both of them. I'm like, I still don't like that Izzy's with these 2 bozos, but the match itself was pretty good. I just have lots of red flags and questions going into this. I was just like, I'm not mad she won the championship, but if we're following the rules of wrestling, she shouldn't have gotten a championship match 1, even if it was an open challenge. And the fact that now she is champion, what do we do with Thea now? Like, are her and Blake going to continue to fight? Like, are we moving on? Like, what are we doing? I love you, Izzy. I'm really happy that you're champion, but creative did you dirty and did you a disservice with this one.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. This is what I want to see every single week. This was a great shot. I would like to thank the internet.
This was insane and stupid, and I loved it.
This whole segment was so weird. So to kind of set the stage before we get to this moment. So Lola Vice is just chilling backstage, you know, where the kitchen is at for some odd reason. I was just like, I forget that NXT has a whole kitchen like this. So first, she is being hit on by the Vanity Project boys. So I was just like, oh, this is creepy. But I love that Lola's like, you got 5 seconds to walk away because I will. I was like, Lola will take each and every one of you out. And so I was like, I'm not worried for her. But thank God our lovely boys of Hank and Tank come in for the save as well. And what I loved is that they were just there to support Lola because she didn't need no saving. She don't need a man to save her. And so I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Hank could take her back from Japan. I've missed these 2 expeditiously. So the Belly Bandits and Lola Vice begin talking. Lola is just like, you know, she's still got beef with Kalani, and she's going to show that just because she's a gymnast doesn't mean she's going to, you know, can get out of catching these hands. And then the camera pans to the door where Kalani is just like, oh, I heard you were talking about me. And literally in frame, like she starts taking off the shoes, and then she jumps into frame with the camera turned back, and the girls begin to fight. I was just like, Kalani's like, I heard you were talking about me, throws the shoe. Lola was like, oh, let's throw down. The boys have to come in. And then the Vanity Project boys come back with their phones on, like recording the fight.
It's so funny.
I was like, this is the dumb stuff I need every single week, honestly.
Yep. Like I said, it was stupid and wonderful. And God, I just loved it. It was, and it's so funny because I know that there are people out there who just believe that wrestling should be serious all the time. And which I completely disagree with. You need, wrestling. Come on, you gotta have the stupid moments. These just the moments where you can just laugh at it, and it's like, because you love them, I love both of them, Lola and Kalani, and just watching them catfight and then watching the boys trying to separate them was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. Oh so
my
good.
Goodness. I'm just like, so this sets up Lola and Kalani next week, which I am excited for. So hopefully I want them to feud all the way up to Vengeance Day, honestly, because again, we don't have confirmation when that is, but Vengeance Day is always in February. So I was like, here we go. First PLE of 2026. Let's do this, y'all. So we got to keep the show going, though, because as fun as this segment was, I was just like, I actually enjoyed this, too, because I was like, oh, Joe Hendry is out here being devious, and we're going to talk about him being devious a little later. But Joe Hendry is not here to be funny, goofy person. He is quite serious because he comes to Ava's office asking for a match with Dion Lennox after, Joe Hendry got beat down by Darkstate at his concert last week. And Ava's like, all right, bet. You two get a no DQ match next week. And Joe Hendry is just like, all right. And he's like, I got to take care of some other business too. And then promptly leaves. I was like, Joseph Hendry, what have you up your sleeves?
Some gorgeous arms.
Gosh. If you couldn't tell, Will over here is a big fan of Joe Hendry. He is infatuated with this man.
I love Joe Hendry.
And you know what? Even though he signed to NXT, as it was reported by TNA earlier this week, Joe Hendry will be in the building at Genesis, and Papa also here gets Brown 2 with him.
Yay.
So I was like, Joseph, we're going to talk about you a little bit later, because I was like, listen, I love the shtick that we got going on with your happy-go-lucky concert person, but I love a more serious Joe Hendry too. Mm-hmm. It's slightly hotter.
Yep, it is. Absolutely.
So Joseph, we're going to talk about you a little bit later. This is a mess, but like in the best way possible. Shiloh Hill, you have gone up the totem pole for me of just being, I was just like, you're going to be fun to watch this year. So Ethan Page comes out to cut a promo. Ethan, again, spoiler, is probably going to be carrying this mid-card division for who knows how long, especially when we get to the very end of this show.
Yeah.
But Ethan comes out to cut a promo. He gets interrupted a lot. First by our NXT Speed champion, Jasper Troy. Then we have Josh Briggs in a hoodie that seems way too big for him. And that's saying something. I'm like, Josh is a tall man. Now, I get it. Tall men have a really tough time trying to find clothes that make them look okay and fitted because they are super tall. And Josh has got them big old, pad shoulders, man. But this red jacket was not it. I was like, what is this hoodie we're wearing? And then, of course, Stax has to come out. I'm like, sir, you have a TNA International Championship. Why are you trying to fight Ethan for an NXT one? I'm like, excuse you. And I was just like, I'm going to be so for real. Like, even though he has a match with Steve Macklin in a rematch for that title next week, I was just like, NXT does no favors when they set up these pre-tapes, because even though Stax didn't exactly say it, I was just like, oh, we know. I already knew Macklin was not going to win, but you just confirmed that he's not going to win this championship tomorrow night either. God, NXT, I need you to at least try, man. I was like, TNA does all these pre-tapes. Well, at least it's pre-taped now. But I'm just like, damn, you guys. And so that happens, right? And then, Shiloh Hill comes out. I was just like, listen, Shiloh, that Christmas Brawl match that y'all had 2 weeks ago against Stax and Ariana was actually really fun. Oh, my gosh. It was so... And when he got slapped Stax with the keyboard, I was like, oh, Stax is going to be feeling that for a couple of weeks. But Shiloh stakes claim to the championship. Then Tavion comes out like a bat out of hell, getting all hypey and hyped. And, It took me a little bit for it to process in my mind, but it seems that him and Jasper are going to fight for the Speed Championship next week, which we get confirmed later in the show. And Ethan then just does what Ethan does best and starts a fight, and everybody just starts brawling. And I love that earlier in the show, Ava was just like, I know you're going to cause me headaches. Please don't. And he's like, I promise I will not. And what does Ethan do? He causes problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and this is one of those things where you knew what was going to happen. We knew what was going to happen from the very beginning. We knew it was going to break into some sort of, you know, this is one of those things that is very predictable. Anytime you get more than two wrestlers in a ring together, something's going to happen. And here they got, 6? And to think that nothing is going to happen, okay, whatever. And it exactly exploded exactly how I thought it was going to start. You know, Ethan, I am so ready for him to go away as champion. I'm so ready because he drives me insane. He literally drives me insane. Just like, go away.
It's like, you had one job.
Yeah. And it's annoying me, apparently. And yeah, I agree. I don't know what the heck Briggs was wearing. And when he walked out, I was like, what the hell? I was like, you need to fire your stylist, dude, because whoever let you walk out in that, they didn't give a shit about you, dude. Because it looked like it was swallowing him. And I'm like, and he's big, he's broad across the shoulders, but he looked like he was getting eaten alive by that hoodie. I was just like, yeah, I was no. And then I was just like, Ethan, shut up. Just shut up.
Oh, Ethan. Ethan causing problems in the ring. Everybody brawls. I mean, Shiloh with the best moment, which is hilarious. You know, him and Ariana somehow end up interlocked, and then his dentures fall out, and she freaks the F out. And I was like, glorious. I love it.
Which is hilarious. I cried laughing.
I was like, Ariana, you get points, girl. That's how we sell it. That's how we sell it, girl.
It's so funny.
I'm like, Shiloh, I think we and you are going to have a lot of fun this year.
Yep.
Man, I love when people don't take themselves too seriously, and I love that.
You just can't. That's the thing. You can't in this business. You can't take yourself seriously.
And I think that's why I'm probably having an issue with Jasper. I'm like, he's too serious for me.
He is.
You could be a monster, but allow yourself to have a little fun once in a while.
That's why he reminds me of like Obafemi. Obafemi takes himself way too seriously. You know, he jumps into that character and he stays there. And I'm like, that's cool. As a theater person, that's brilliant that you can maintain that character and you can hold on to it. But there's no depth to it. There's no anything other than this is what I am. So it's like, I get it. You can be the badass guy on the block, but you got to give us more than just that. There's got to be something more to you than just, you know, whatever his personal baggage, character's personal baggage is in this industry. I don't know, but you got to give me more than what you're giving me. Because right now I'm just like, I don't care about you. I really don't. Because you're very two-dimensional, you know? And that's why I didn't really care for Oba at the beginning, because he was very two-dimensional. And then he started to alter himself a little bit. He started to give us more. And I'm hoping that Jasper will do that as well. I'm hoping that once he finds his stride, that we'll start seeing a little bit more depth in there.
Yeah. So this seems to be, you know, probably what we're going to start seeing in the mid card for a little bit. So we'll see how this all goes down. But after the brawl in this ring, though, because we got to keep going, Joe Hendry is playing a dangerous game, and I'm here for it. Because, and this is what I love, and this is what I need, because this was a good creative move, because Joe Hendry knows that Darkseid going to be a problem next week, even if it is no DQ. So Joe Hendry needs to find some people to help him. Joe Hendry is still new to NXT, and he doesn't really have too many friends at the moment, because most of his friends are still back in TNA, right? And so Joe Hendry is just like, he goes to OTM, you know, he's like, hey boys, I need you to I was wondering if y'all can be out there for me during my match against Dion next week. And I will agree. I was like, OTM be like, bro, that's not our business. We don't want none of that. And then Joe Hendry was like, listen, it's good for both of us. And here's why. You guys know not only can you even the odds and take out Dark State so I can beat Dion Lennox, but by taking on and making a name for yourself by, taking out Dark State in the middle of the match and keeping them occupied so I can focus on Dion, it's a pipeline for them to face Dark State for those tag titles. And OTM is just like, all right, bet, we'll see you next week. And I was just like, I love it when wrestlers are smart. This is what we need to see from storytelling perspective. They're just like, oh, I'm the baby face. I'm going to go out there. Nah, Joe Hendry's baby face, but he's not stupid. He's like, Dark State is going to be out there. I already know. So I need to find some people to even the odds. Even if we're like not besties, we are friends of convenience.
Yep. My enemy's enemies are my enemies.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Big thing about the OTM though is I'm really glad that they are starting to show something more than what they were originally. Because what they were originally was just not working for me. That whole stereotypical street thug. I was like, See, but now it's like, and it was this segment that kind of set it for me. And I was like, because it's like, okay, they're not just stupid thugs. They're like, okay, we're very proud of where we come from, but we're not stupid. And you're making sense, my friend. And so, yeah. So I really like that their characters are also starting to evolve out of what it was originally. Even in the way they're presenting themselves as different.
100%. And so OTM is going to be out there with Joe Hendry to even the odds a little bit, which makes me excited. But we weren't done quite yet with the backstage, though, because this seems to be setting up what's happening. And everybody in this picture, JC's face is like my favorite thing in this picture. She's like, oh, God, here we go again. So Fatal Influence is walking through backstage. JC retained her championship against Kendall earlier in the show. The girls are walking and they run into Zaruka. Soul lets JC know that, she is going to have to hold on to that championship belt a little tight because she is coming for it. Fatal Influence begins to make fun of Soul because she used to be a double champion and now she has no belts. But Ruka fires back and said, well, JC, you're not a double champ either. And if I remember correctly, I think my title reign was longer than yours too. And I was like, oop. But then, Fatal Influence still trying to play games, trying to pit Zarya and Soul against each other because Lainey makes the comment to both of them, be like, Zarya, that's funny. She said she was coming after this NXT Women's Champion, not the Tag Team Championships. And I was just like, I'm so over it. Either break them up or not. Stop playing this will they, won't they game. I'm tired of them playing in my face. I was just like, Lainey sowing the seeds of discord, trying to convince them, be like, oh, Soul said she's coming for this championship. She didn't say we're going to go after the tag titles. I'm like, I'm over it. Either break the girls up or don't, which I don't think is happening till later. But I was like, Soul is probably going to get this championship at Stand and Deliver. I'm calling it right now. I'm going to put the pin in this. Soul Ruka needs to be the one to take this title off of JC, honestly, right now.
And what's so funny is I think that if Soul Ruka gets the title, I think that's what will break them up.
Yes, I 100% agree. And honestly, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
Because then you can have Zarya and Soul feud for it, and I'm here for it. So we are going to see how this transpires, but this was not the only thing because, there is a third act to all of this because we are still backstage. First of all, I love you, but Tate, this is a horrible name for you. Your wrestling name is hard. Tate Wilder. I was like, absolutely not. Again, I watch Evolve because I watch too much wrestling throughout the week. I love you, Tate. I really do. You're a good wrestler. I just hate this name still for you. But we have Miles and Tate talking to each other. Ethan is just still distraught and upset and angry over what he caused in the ring, by the way. Then he gives unsolicited advice to Tate and to Miles. And this is also where I'm saying, I'm like, I swear to God, Miles needs to be the one to take this title off of Ethan. Like, I think we're setting this up too. I'm like, Soul's going to take the title from JC at some point. Miles needs to be the one to take the North American Championship off of Ethan at this point. Because Ethan is running into the Obafemi problem because we're running out of people in this mid-card division for him to beat to retain the championship again. So I was just like, we need some. I'm calling it now, Miles. I would love to see you win it at Stand and Deliver as well, but I can also see if we set up a program between these two get a rematch between these two at Vengeance Day. So
agreed.
I was like, NXT was a lot of setting up for what's happening because we're also, again, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but I'm just like, oh, Lord, here we go. We got to reset everything because we didn't have no backup plans in NXT. We've been telling you, you need to start having some backup plans. All righty, so let's just get into it. We get into the main event of the show, Obafemi going up against TNA X Division champion Leon Slater for the NXT championship. Again, had it not been for the very end of the show, I would have said this was my favorite match too. And I think this is still probably tied with my favorite match between this and then JC and Kendall's match. Leon Slater selling and working his ass off this match. I was just like, this boy is flying everywhere. And I was like, look, I know Leon is not going to win this championship. We both knew it was never going to happen. But I was just like, gosh darn it. Like, you had the NXT stars raid TNA and take their top titles, but y'all don't want to let Leon, even for a week, hold this thing going into the AMC debut next week for TNA. Gosh darn it, you guys. But this was a really solid match. Leon Slater flying everywhere. Obafemi actually selling for Leon too, and having to also work a little bit harder to keep Leon grounded, which was really, really nice to see. Leon Slater hits the Swanton 450, but Obafemi is able to also, put him down with his finisher. Obafemi retains the NXT championship, and I was just like, I wasn't mad at this because Leon and Oba haven't faced each other yet at all. This was their first encounter like this. So it's like, okay, Oba and Leon's not part of the NXT roster. He's already beaten like 5 times already. So I was okay with this. So we're going to come back to you because we got a pose off where the lights were hitting Oba. And then he was hugging the title. It's like, oh, I feel like camera guy put that on for too long. So we probably forgot to cut a little bit earlier. So it's like, okay, it is what it is, right? Back in Ava's office, she is meeting with the Evolve talent, telling them, and if anyone has only been watching NXT and hasn't been watching the main roster, as we're panning out to see the lots of faces of all these little boys and girls who dream to be on NXT at some point, Ava announces, it's that time of the year, with official main roster call-ups of Lash Legend, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and now Jordan Grace. Those 4 are moving over to the main roster. So Trick is on SmackDown, Lash is on SmackDown. Javon Evans has been signed to Raw as of this past Monday. And Jordan Grace is probably heading to SmackDown on Fridays too, very shortly, where she and Chelsea look to be fighting, and I'm here for it. But Ava's just like, with that being said, there is potential that Evolve talent might be called up to NXT. So, because Evolve is like the development of the development. It is before the NXT. So there might be potential for the Evolve talent to come on up and be on NXT, which I'm excited for. Then Robert Stone crashes in. I was just like, man, you busy with everything between what you're doing here and with the Diamond Collective in TNA. And Robert Stone's like, Ava, did you see what Obafemi did in the ring? I'm like, oh shit, what happened? Come back to the ring. Come back to the ring. And Ava's like, no, I didn't see that. I was like, oh hell, what the hell? So, and we even got shots of the crowd reacting to the way they did, and we got confirmation this morning with his successful title defense against Leon Slater last night. Obafemi has officially vacated the title, and he is moving up to main roster. And I was just like, I'm not mad at this. Here's what I'm mad at. Why didn't we do this sooner? Why did we have him beat Ricky Saints if this was the plan all along? NXT, what the fuck?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Been saying it forever. It's
like, God!
Yeah, I know. I didn't, it was funny because it's like, I ain't mad at this either. Because one, Oba had a hell of a run, but it's for a while now, it's been time for him to move on. Do I think this was the best way to do it? Absolutely not. Because I'm just like, are you kidding me? So he leaves basically undefeated, quote unquote. And I'm just like, I think it was a cheap way out. I think the reason I like it is because Oba's now vacated it. So now it's open and we can put someone who, some of the newer folks in it, not newer, sorry, the
other
folks
guys
that,
who are at the top of the card
who really deserve it, who've been deserving it for a while. Now, the other thing I love about this is that I'm hoping that they're going to do some kind of tournament, maybe.
That's what I'm hoping too. Is like, in order to crown a new champion at Vengeance Day, the next couple weeks leading into Vengeance Day, whenever that PLE is in February, they're like, we're going to do this tournament to crown the next champion,
which would be fantastic.
So I'm already thinking, I was like, I like, if we're gonna do this tournament, I already know that Ricky's gonna be in it. Ricky Saints is gonna be in it. I'm trying to think who else is at the top of the card. Something tells me Tony D'Angelo gonna find his way in it too, because that's a title that Tony has yet to win, who's also been MIA for like 2 weeks now, but whatever.
Right.
I would have said Javon, but Javon is now on main roster, which I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I'm gonna miss him, but now let's start. But I'm going to get on my soapbox in a little bit. I was like, outside of Ricky and Tony, I was like, you have not built anybody else in this main card scene.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, there's no one ready for it. I mean, Ricky Saints, yeah, okay. And I mean, Tony, yeah, absolutely. But Tony's been so out of it. I just, it's like, it's one of those things. Let me look at it this way. It's like when you're watching a television show and the season ends and you're so excited for the next season and they say, oh, the next season's coming in 2 years. So then you kind of lose interest in the season or the series.
Look at that. You Stranger Things. No, I'm just kidding. It's
kind of what happened with Tony D'Angelo, because I love Tony D'Angelo. I thought he was amazing. And then he just disappeared. So he was off my radar. So I just was like, oh, okay. And then he came back and I was like, oh, why are you back? It's like,
what are we doing?
So, I mean, even though he's top, I don't think he's it.
And then on the other side of it too, like, and it's not Ricky's fault, but the fact that you had Ricky lose to Oba at deadline for the title, and Oba only held it for 4 weeks, right? At this point, in this title reign before vacating it. Listen, to give a little bit of context for all the boys and girls and non-binary folks out there, this is not the first time we had an NXT star go up to main roster, vacating the title and being undefeated. Now, the first time that it happened was way back in the day when NXT was still in the black and gold era. And that was Miss Asuka. She went up to main roster, vacating that championship, going undefeated. She had like a 600+ day reign and nobody could beat her. But it worked because that was the plan. And they planned for Asuka to vacate that championship before moving on up. We did not have Oba lose the title, only for him to get it back like 40 days later, and then for him to vacate it. I'm almost like, if that was the plan, you could have just had him vacated at deadline, and that would have been crazy.
And it would have been more impactful.
He won it, and he's like, this is beneath me, and put it in the ring. Well, not even beneath. It's just like, I have righted the wrong against Ricky. I've righted my wrongs against Ricky, and then vacates it. It's like, I did what I wanted. I got the title from Ricky.
Yeah. But I mean, so the only thing I can think of is they're going to give, and then that's the thing. It's like, Do they give it back to Ricky Saints? He lost it. Does he win it back? And then, because even he's been on some kind of strange trajectory.
I need a plan for Ricky, like I was saying earlier in the review, like when he cut his promo. I'm like, I need a direction for Mr. Ricky, because seriously, I like Ricky, but we need a direction. We need a direction for him. And so this leads into my soapbox, right? Yes, if this was the plan for Oba to vacate it before moving up to main roster, and even if it was a last-minute decision, because Shawn Michaels has to answer to the main roster, my issue is that, and honestly, I'm not even mad at main roster at this point. I blame Shawn and creative, because this happens every single time. We saw this last time, Will, when Carmelo and Ilya and a bunch of other guys and gals like got called over to the main roster, and we were in that weird 2 to 3 month period with NXT trying to fix and fill in the gaps and start building people. Y'all should have had done this months ago. You should. And I love you, Shawn Michaels. I really do. And I will defend NXT till the cows come home, because it is my favorite of the 3 WWE brands. But we do this every single time. Y'all glue on to 1 or 2 talents in the men's and women's division, give them all the accolades. They are always on TV. They do the stories. And then when they get pulled over, you have built nobody else up. So then it's like lots of duct tape, Band-Aids, and hoping that nothing leaks in this sinking submarine. Like, God, It makes me so mad. I was just like, y'all, even if it was last minute decisions, you got to start building up like 2 to 3 other stars who can step into that limelight when these so call-ups happen.
And I'm sorry to step on your soapbox, but you know what? I'm sitting here just thinking this just now.
What's that?
That moment with Ethan, Jasper, Josh, and all of them, was that them telling us something? Are those men going to come after this title?
You know what? I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at this point if they are thrusted into the main event scene. Now, looking at everybody we saw on this show, right? So obviously Ricky and Tony are probably going to go after this title if there's a tournament. The only other 2 people I am okay with seeing it is Tavion and Miles, because they've been on TV a lot too. And I'll throw Josh in there. Josh has done a lot too, and he's had some really fun matches. But there is nobody else in this men's roster right now. I was just like,
no.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like, and I'm totally agreeing with you. That's one of NXT's biggest flaws, is that they look at this big cool thing we're about to do. Yay, we did it. Oh shit, we weren't ready to do that, were we? No, you weren't. You didn't build up any of your other talent. And see, this is one of my biggest issues with NXT, is they focus so much on people like Ricky Saints, Obafemi, now Ethan Page, they focus so much on those guys, and they let the others just sort of, okay, we'll put you in a match every once in a while. And it's like, these people that you put in a match every once in a while, they're going to be coming up. You need to prepare them for it. Put them in matches that make sense to elevate them, not just keep them where they are, which is what NXT does. And that bugs the crap out of me, and it's like, because I think Tavion would be amazing if they gave him the shot. I think Miles would be amazing if they gave him a shot. Josh, I love Josh, but I don't think he's title material. I really don't.
Maybe not world title yet, but I do think he needs a championship at some point.
I do too. I think he does deserve something, but yeah, but this one, I don't.
Now, the only other thing I can think of too, and I've said this, because the women's division, as much as I have questions about Izzy being our new champion, I never have to get upset about the women's division, because we actually have a really good depth of women's talent in this roster. Now that might change, because supposedly there's also talks about Blake going up, Lola going up, but there's enough women where I feel like, okay, I think we're okay. Now, the only other thing I can think of is, and we've always had an issue with the men's roster kind of like having to do a hard reset every time people get called to main roster. I talked about it earlier. We got a brief vignette with Mr. Elio LaFleur formerly known as Achille Blanc, our French luchador. And yes, he wears a mask all the time. It's not cultural appropriation, so I need people to get off his case. But we had a good chunk. We had like 5 European stars signed, 4 men, 1 woman from Europe within the recent tryouts. So what I'm hoping is over the next couple weeks, because these are already established wrestlers, they're not like new to the sport of wrestling that need to be trained before getting on TV. These are actual wrestlers from Europe who are now coming over to NXT and being signed. So that's Nico Elio. And then, of course, the Spanish sensation from Spain, Zozaya. You also have the brutal German, Mike DeVecchio. Mike D is a big powerhouse and love him. But he's a fantastic wrestler. I'll send you pictures. I'm hoping that the surprise entrances, because I was like, we don't have enough people to do a big tournament right now for this if we're doing a tournament. But this would be a fun way to be like, all right, let's get these new signees in, like get them a shot in the match. They're probably not going to make it far, but get the crowd excited because this men roster really needs some help right now.
Now, the other thing I will say is they better not mix it with TNA.
God, they probably are. We're probably going to get some TNA people. We're probably going to get some AAA. We're going to do some AAA people. I was like, listen, if we make this like a fatal 4-way ladder match and then like you have TNA, I don't need people mixing in with NXT. Like, let's have the 4 different promotions do their own separate small little bracket tournament. And you have a representative from each of those 4 companies, like in a crazy ladder match or something.
Yeah,
we need a stipulation, like something. I don't think that'll happen, but because I'm like,
but it just drives me crazy. And maybe because NXT's men's roster is so shallow, they may do that. But it just and that's cool, and I'm fine with it because I love TNA too, and I'm cool with that happening. I am not cool with a TNA person taking this title.
At this point, if they were going to do that, Leon should have taken it here. Like, Leon should have been the one to take it here. And even if he only held it for a couple of weeks, like, at least it would be an NXT top title going over to TNA but I was just like, whatever, man. NXT is probably never going to allow any TNA star to hold their main men or women's championship, but TNA will do the same thing and not get anything returned. But whatever, they got a TV deal, so sure.
Yep.
You have to pay the piper somehow.
So I guess we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, as we always say here. But yeah, that was we spent the last 25 minutes talking about this, but that was okay, though, because it needed to be said, because we find ourselves in these situations every year. No official announcement yet, but NXT is going to be building up the next couple of weeks into not New Year's Eve, Vengeance Day. Sorry, I'm getting all my holidays mixed up. But we are officially on the road, as I call it, to stand and deliver, because these next couple of months, NXT is going to need to start getting it together, because we got to figure out what's going to happen at Vengeance Day and then who is getting on this stand and deliver card in April, which is the big time for pay-per-view for NXT every single year. And we're probably going to review it. We're going to review it as well. So that's always going to be fun. But that's going to be it for us here tonight at NXTilosos. Thank you so much for tuning in. Will and I will be back here at 8 p.m. Pacific to talk some CMLL action. We had a whole cage match and somebody lost their mask. It was crazy. So you can check us too, plus our unofficial digital co-host, Primo, Agent Lo-Fi, as we talk about all the crazy stuff. But we're going to get up on out of here. So until later tonight, from all of us here at BC WrestlePod, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll see you in a little bit for CMLL. But until then, sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.